Hello friends, Mandar here. I'm back with another video. Today we'll talk about multiple topics. Some related to citizenship, some related to 485 adjustment of status. There is also January 2025 Visa Bulletin that has come in. There are some dates that have progressed. We'll talk about a letter that Democratic senators have sent to the President Biden regarding some of the changes that they have requested. We'll talk about what are the subtle changes that will happen in the processing times in uscis and many other topics that will be important for you. So watch this video until the end and let's get started. If you are here for the first time, welcome. My name is Mandar and I make immigration and lifestyle related videos for US and Canada. I'm not an immigration lawyer, so anything that I say on this video or on my channel is for information purpose only. And for your specific immigration needs, before you take any action, you should hire a competent immigration lawyer. Now, before we start, I would appreciate if you can hit the like button. I already did an announcement for my previous giveaway in my last video, so check that out. I'll also be doing one more giveaway towards the end of January, so your comment, share and like to this video and any subsequent video are going to enter you into that giveaway. And while you are down in the description, also check out the affiliate links. You might find something interesting for the holiday season. So with that said, also with holidays coming, I would like to know what you're doing, where are you going and how are you spending your time, either traveling or meeting with your friends and family. Do let me know, as I would be interested to know. Now, before we jump into our important topics, let's talk quickly about what's happening in Canada. Now, there have been a lot of videos about Canada, why people are leaving Canada. And I got few questions that I just wanted to touch on this topic. I'll not go into the details, but I'll just give you a few reasons why I believe that is happening. The first reason is that there were too many immigrants that Canada allowed into the country in the last several years. Trudeau administration has been in the power for almost 8 years or 9 years now, and they have allowed droves of immigration happen into the country. As a result, what has happened is they haven't been able to keep up with the housing, with the job market, with the amenities and taking care of those immigrants. So that is the reason the inflation has gone too high. The cost of living is absolutely unaffordable in the big cities. And that is the reason why people are feeling that the Canadian dream that they came to achieve is now out of reach. That is why there are numerous new immigrants that are leaving Canada. But this situation might change. They are taking steps towards that direction. And that's where I will stop here. Reach out to me if you want to know more about that and I'll be happy to tell you. Now I'll do a couple of questions before we jump into the Visa Bulletin, but here are those. Now the first question is, before the Trump administration comes, is it safe to go to Canada or Mexico to get your visa stamped? I can understand this question where it's coming from because people don't want to travel to India just for the sake of getting stamping done. But what you need to make sure is that there is automatic revalidation at the border from Mexico or Canada when you re-enter into the United States if you have an approval notice. Another thing you want to make sure that without an extension approval notice, you should not leave United States into Canada or Mexico. You will have only 30 days to go and stay in that country. Also make sure you check out their website because there may be changes in the rules, how Canada or Mexico allows Indian citizens to go to their country with a valid US visa, which is extended but not stamped on their passport. Usually they would allow with the extension notice or approval notice to enter into their country for up to 30 days and you can also do your stamping while you are there. Now, if you are taking a cruise or something else to go to a third country in South America, then those bets are off. You'll need to make sure that the third country that you are traveling, such as Caribbean, what are the rules and regulations you'll need to check on the website. Usually just disembarking on the port of entry just from a cruise ship and getting back on the cruise ship is not going to be a problem. If you have more questions, put down in the comment section below and I will cover in the next video.
And that brings me to the sponsor of today's video. Have you ever done the Google search of your own name? Look what I have found when I did mine. Here's what comes up. While some of this information is relevant, the other makes me uncomfortable that my information is exposed for a sale like this. Data brokers sell your information to scammers, spammers, or anybody else who may want to target you. Your full name, email address, home address, your relatives' names, health information, it's all out there. That's why I have been using Aura, sponsor of today's video. Aura shows me which data brokers are selling my information and automatically submits opt-out request for me. Cleaning up my information not only helps reduce the amount of spam I get, but it also protects me from hackers who could use this information to help them access my social media accounts, bank accounts, or other sensitive information. Aura does so much more to protect my information and my family's information from online threats I can't see. I get other features like antivirus, VPN, password management, parental controls, identity theft insurance, and more without having to download several different apps. It's really easy to set up, and best of all, I get everything for one affordable price. You may already have one or two of these tools, but not having Aura is like locking the front door but leaving your back door wide open. Aura is always on, doing the hard work of keeping me safe so I can focus on other tasks with peace of mind. I value my privacy and I value yours. You can go to my link which is on the screen and in the description and start your free 2 weeks trial. So protect your information, your family, and have a peace of mind. That's Aura.
Now another important thing is if you are going to India for stamping and you are worried if you get stuck there due to administrative processing or 221G. Now this is not new, it is always been there. Some people are impacted, some are not. But I had seen a spike in the increase of 221Gs last time around. Now if you are restamping your visa, it's usually a drop box and there is less scrutiny in theory. But what I have seen in the last couple of years that every restamping is also treated as if it's a new application. So there might be an increase in the number of 221Gs, which is administrative processing. So make sure you have plans to stay for extended period of time just in case. Now vast majority of the people will not have this problem, but there is certain percentage of people who get this administrative processing and they are left waiting for weeks and months in India. So that is the reality. It's small percent and you just need to be aware of that. Now I want to take a pause and mention that only 21% of my viewers are my subscribers. So it will really help if you can hit that subscribe button and support the channel. Now some people have contacted me in the last couple of weeks with NOID. Now what is NOID is a notice of intent to deny. Now it has been the cases of H1B and one person told me about this. It was in 485 case. So what is that? It is notice of intent to deny. Now this notice is sent just before your application is outright denied. So it is a step in the process where they allow you to respond within 30 days to challenge this denial. Now, if it is in the case of your 485, it's even more important that you respond back to them because they probably have made up their mind to deny the case. Now, you want to know the reason why it's denied. If it's for a technical reason, you can fight it out. But if it's for valid reason, you want to respond back to them in 30 days and make sure that they put you back into the adjustment of status because that is the status that will allow you to remain in the United States while you fight it out. Now, you need a solid immigration lawyer to fight this case for you. In some cases, you might want to go back to your non-immigrant visa, but then again apply for your 485 with the correction that was suggested in your notice of intent to deny. Now, there is another thing that has happened in the last couple of months is that some people were given green cards while their dates were not current, and now USCIS is coming back and revoking their green cards. Now it is NOIR, which is notice of intent to revoke. Now this is different than notice of intent to deny, where in the denial case, they are ready to deny it, whereas in this case, they have already approved, they have already sent you a green card, but now they have realized their mistake and they want to revoke it. Now in this situation, if there is a valid reason, such as they granted you a green card while your date was not current, you will need to comply and give back your green card. You don't need to proactively give it, but if they ask you to give it, you can give it back. You should give it back. Now in this case, you also want to make sure that you are put back into the adjustment of status so that you can remain in the country in the adjustment of status and again avail EAD and AP or go back to your non-immigrant visa. So whatever the case is, contact me if you have any questions. I have suggested many people what to do in those scenarios. Now with this revocation of the green card, always try to get what was the reason and always make sure that they actively put you back into the adjustment of status. You might have to take a service request, in-person appointment at the nearest field office and make sure your status goes back into the adjustment of status. That is really important. The bottom line is take this seriously. If there is an NOIR or NOID, this is very important. This is big deal in your immigration situation and you have to take the right action. Now there was a chatter about change in the US citizenship test. Now in the past there have been 20 questions out of which you had to pass 60%, which was 12 questions. Then they dropped it down to 10 questions out of which you had to pass 6 questions. There is a news about that USCIS might change the test again to modernize it. Now with the new administration coming in, you can expect a little bit of longer processing time for naturalization. Now, in the recent couple of years, the naturalization process was pretty much sped up to about 4 to 6 months. It was incredibly fast, but now I would expect that there would be longer processing time for naturalization. This is because based on what we saw last time, they will try to find more ways to establish that you did not have a good moral character. They might extend the time frame by which they look back at. It used to be 5 years, they could even go further back to 10 years. Now there are certain other things such as address change, filling out AR11 form, making sure there are no technical mistakes on your form and so on that you need to make sure so that your case does not get denied on a technical basis. Now some people ask me about this H1 stamping within the United States. Will it reopen? Now back in January through April, I think this program was run as a pilot with fixed number of visa stamping that they did within the United States, and then they stopped it. Their idea was to restart this program, but I have not seen any news on restarting the stamping within the United States. And with the new administration coming in, honestly speaking, I don't think this will happen. Now there is a possibility with this DOGE program, Department of Government Efficiency program, which means that you don't need to waste people's money and government resources on doing these things offshore. If people are living in the United States and if they have stamping, why do they need to go out of the country and apply it at the outside consulate and then come back in? This is waste of government resources in my opinion. So stamping within the United States makes perfect sense. But there is counter argument. Stricter immigration advocates will say that this process is not going to be implemented. So I'm not 100% convinced that the stamping within the United States is going to be a reality. But if it happens, we'll know soon. This will not start because of the other priorities that new administration will have. But due to DOGE, it might come later in the administration period. Now there is another common question regarding advance parole. Now typically, if you apply for advance parole, you need to wait until you get it in your hand and then travel outside, because it will be valid for re-entry purposes. But if you have applied for it and if you travel before it gets approved or before you get the advance parole document in your hand, and if you travel outside, technically that advance parole application is withdrawn or it's cancelled. That is what happens in 99% of the scenarios. Now, there are some instances where the advance parole still comes when you have left the country, and then when you come back, you receive it, but whether it's valid or not. Now, this is a gray area. I haven't seen many cases of that, but I have 2 people reporting to me that they left for India while their advance parole was still in process, and then they came back and they got it. They still got it. Now the question was whether they can use it. I think you can use it. Be cautious. Ask your immigration lawyer whether you need to reapply for your advance parole and take a new one and not use the existing one. Be cautious on that because you don't want to get stuck outside. Now another good news is now there is a final rule to make the EAD, the automatic extension of EADs when you apply for your renewal, to 540 days. Now it had a term limit, and let's see what it says. There is a final rule permanently increases the automatic extension period for certain EADs renewal applicant. Now DHS today announced that there is a final rule that will permanently increase the automatic extension period of EADs from 180 days to 540 days from the expiration date stated on the expired EAD. Now this was a temporary measure. Now they are making it permanent, which is great because now you don't have to worry about this rule going back. Now this is a regulation and this is a rule. Even if the new administration wants to rescind this rule, they will have to go through the same regulatory process again, which is going to be time consuming. So I don't think this will be a target for revocation. So I think this rule will permanently stay. So this is a good news for people on EAD who have to renew their EADs. They will have an automatic extension of 540 days. Now, before we go into the alerts from USCIS, I wanted to also talk about one particular news, which is some senators, Democratic senators in particular, have sent a letter to Biden administration to protect undocumented DACA and TPS status people who are living in the United States. Now, what this really says is Democrats urge Biden administration to protect legally present migrants. Now, they are saying that DACA recipients, they have to renew their DACA status every several years. Before the next administration comes in, it would be good to have everybody get their status extended automatically. So that's what they are asking. One of those is this. They also want to extend the status of TPS status of certain countries such as Venezuela, Haiti and Venezuela. So what that will do is before the Trump administration comes in, these people will get their status extended so that they don't have to worry for next couple of years because the next administration is only there for 4 years. So that is what Democratic senators have sent a letter to the Biden administration to do as a final act for the undocumented people before the administration runs out of time. Now, interestingly, they did not do anything for legal migrants or documented dreamers or employment-based immigration. So I'm really surprised that they pick and choose who they want to protect and they totally neglect people such as documented dreamers. So it's astounding, but anyways, some people benefit from it, but others are just neglected. Now I wanted to cover some alerts from USCIS. Now let's see what is this one. USCIS issues updated guidance on evidence for applicants under International Entrepreneurs Rule. I think we want to look at the second one. USCIS revises Form 485 application to register for permanent resident. Let's look at this. This sounds interesting. On December 10th, USCIS published a new edition of Form 485 applicant for registering permanent residence or adjustment of status, which includes updated questions and instructions. Starting February of 2025, we'll accept only the new edition of 485 and will reject any older edition 485. So this is very important note to understand. If your date becomes current in the near future before February 10th, 2025, and if you are applying for your 485 after this date, you have to use this new form. What are the major changes in this new form? Requires applicants who need to submit form 693 to submit along with the 485 form. So this has become now mandatory. If you don't have 693 attached along with your 485, they will reject the application. Enables applicants who are exempt from 864 affidavit of support to request an exemption on form 485 rather than submitting a separate application. This is also great because now you can submit for waiver within the same form. The clarification on the form questions about the public charge ground of inadmissibility. The question now will require an applicant to identify their immigrant category so that we can more easily determine whether or not they are exempt from this ground of inadmissibility and can adjudicate the application strongly. Now remember, this is also a relaxation in the rule, and this is a desperate attempt just before the new administration comes into power. Now I am suspicious of this because this is just a policy guidance. This can change at the flip of a coin. So we'll see what happens after the new administration comes in, whether they still honor these things or not. But for now, we have to pay attention to this new form that is being released, which will be effective February of 10th, 2025. Now, before we look into our Visa Bulletin of January 2025, I want to remind you that if you want to get in touch with me, you can find the Calendly link in the description below, and you can set up 30 minutes call with me where you can explain me your situation and I can tell you what I would do if I were in your situation. Again, in the complex scenarios, I can guide you in the right direction, but eventually you will need to use an immigration lawyer and competent immigration lawyer to make your case. Also remember that whenever you hire an immigration lawyer, you should interview at least a couple of immigration lawyers and then go with the one that you feel is the best. That is a rule of thumb, because many people get trapped into an incompetent immigration lawyer that can really screw up your case and you will have to bear with the consequences for a long time. So remember that. Now, as usual, we'll do a side-by-side comparison of December 2024 Visa Bulletin versus January 2025 Visa Bulletin and see if there are any subtle changes. We'll also talk about what can we expect in the upcoming months in the Visa Bulletin. So here, as you can see, on the left hand side we have December 2024 Visa Bulletin, and on the right hand side we have January 2025 Visa Bulletin. Now let's look at the family-based section first. Now these are the final action dates for the family-based section. Now if you see F1 has progressed for all chargeability by about a month from October to November 2015. Same for China and India. Mexico and Philippines have remained the same. Well, Philippines has moved forward by just about a week. Now, F2A category has remained the same for all chargeability, China and India, but for Mexico, it has moved forward by 1 month to 15th of May 2021, and for Philippines, it has remained the same. The F2B category has also progressed forward by about 3 weeks for all chargeability to 1st of May 2016. Same for China and India, but for Mexico, it has not moved forward, and Philippines also, it has not moved forward. For F3 category, the dates have moved forward for all chargeability from 15th of April 2010 to 1st of July 2010, which is also same for China and India, which is good news because these dates have been stalled for a while and they have desperately need to move forward to get some relief for this family-based section. Continuing on, Mexico and Philippines for F3 remains the same. F4 category has stalled for all chargeability, China and India. Actually, for India, it has moved forward by about a month from 8th of March 2006 to 8th of April 2006. For Mexico, it has remained the same, but for Philippines, it has moved forward from 1st of February 2004 to 1st of May 2004. Imagine these dates going back to 2004. They are like 20 years back, 20 years of backlog. So any moment in these dates, even by 3 months, is going to be a relief for a certain number of people. Now let's look at filing date chart, which I don't think is going to change at all, but we'll take a look at it anyways. As I can see, there is no change to F1 category. There is no change to F2 category. There is F2A category. There is no change to F2B category. F3 category, however, has progressed, which is from 22nd of April 2012 to 22nd of July of 2012, which is same for China and India. So good news for F3 category. If you are in that category, you have something to rejoice, because filing date chart has also moved forward, which means they are creating more demand in the F3 category. Now, Mexico and Philippines, however, remain the same. For F4 category, nothing has changed for all chargeability, China and India. Mexico also remains the same, but for Philippines, the date has moved forward from 22nd of July 2007 to 1st of January 2008. So good news for some people in F4 category for Philippines. Now let's look at the final action chart for employment-based section. Now, as you can see, there is no change in the final action chart. For all chargeability, it remains current. For China, it remains at 8th of November 2022. For India, it remains the same at 1st of February 2022. Now, this date has been stuck for a while now. It hasn't moved forward. Mexico and Philippines remain same for EB1. Now, EB2, all chargeability has moved forward by about 15 days from 15th of March 2023 to 1st of April 2023. China has moved forward by about a month, 22nd of March 2020 to 22nd of April 2020. India has moved forward from 1st of August 2012 to 1st of October 2012, which is 2 months of progression for EB2 India. Good news, EB2 India. Congratulations for those number of people who have become current now in the final action chart. That means they will have a visa number availability and your green cards will be approved pretty soon. Mexico and Philippines have also moved forward by about a month. Now, EB3 category, all chargeability has moved forward by about 15 days. China has moved forward by about 2 months, or actually 3 months, and India has moved forward by about 3 weeks from 8th of November 2012 to 1st of December 2012. Same for Mexico and same for Philippines. They have moved forward by about 3 weeks. Now, other workers category has also moved forward for all chargeability by just about 8 days. China has not moved forward. India, however, has moved forward by about 3 weeks. Same, Mexico has moved forward by just about a week, and Philippines has moved forward by just about a week. 4th preference category has become unavailable. Now, there is a note in the section below which I'm going to read out. So let's skip over to EB5. EB5 dates have remained the same. They are all current, except there are China and India in 5th unreserved category, which is what we had expected before. Now, let's look at the filing date chart, which I don't believe would change. In fact, I was expecting some change in January Visa Bulletin, but let's see if that has happened. And I don't see any change in EB1 category. Dates all remain the same. EB2 category, the dates all remain the same. EB3 category, they all remain the same. Other workers category also remains the same. So there is no change, however, in the filing date chart. So now let's look at if there are any notes down below here. They have explained about the other workers category, 4th preference category. Visa availability in the employment, 5th preference category is set aside. Now what they are saying is they have seen a spike in the number of visa applicants in the EB5 category. And I can attest to that because I do about 10 to 15 calls every weekend, and most of them are related to EB1A or EB5. So more and more people are applying in both of these categories. So you will see some date retrogression in EB5 category. So they are saying EB5 category will have a date set, which means that category will retrogress. So if you are debating between EB1 and EB5, do contact me and I can suggest you the right approach, which one to follow. One is just by paying money, and second is putting your effort in. Every situation is different and there will be a specific approach for your scenario. So if you want to consult with me, contact me on Calendly. Now, I also looked at what is the chart that they are going to allow to use to apply for 485, and it is still filing date chart for employment based category. So what can we expect in the next couple of months? In the next couple of months, I will not expect much of a progression in either filing date chart or final action chart. There might be a little bit of a progression in final action chart after a couple of months. So every quarter, they will probably progress dates by about a week or two in the final action chart. Now, when will they progress the dates in the filing date chart? That will be towards September. They might jump the dates or just wait until the October. Now, EB1 is going to be a little bit slow in my opinion than EB2 and EB3. EB2 and EB3 will see the jumps by 2 or 3 weeks, whereas EB1 will see the jump by maybe a week or so. This is because many people from EB2 and EB3 are upgrading their cases to EB1, also EB5. So that is the news from January 2025 Visa Bulletin. There are a lot of packed content. If you like the content of this video, hit the like button. Do comment in the comment section below. I like to a conversation started in there so that I can get ideas for my next video to help you guys. So hit that like button and I'll see you in the next one.